angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology, conspiracy, discovery, special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of Skywatch TV.
Just how does the alien agenda fit in with the Kennedy assassination? We're going to find out in just a few minutes. I'm Sharon K. Gilbert, and we want to welcome you to part 2 of a 4-part series where we're talking with Dr. Michael S. Heiser, Josh Peck, and my husband, Derek Gilbert. Hi.
Hi, sweetie.
Cutie. Hi, cuties. About the upcoming package from Defender Publishing and Skywatch TV Books. It's a package you do not want to miss because it features 2 novels by Dr. Heiser, The Facade and the Portent, but also new nonfiction book by the brand new writing team, Josh Peck and Derek Gilbert, called The Day the Earth Stands Still. This package will also include some of the footage that we recorded in Roswell when we were just there this summer. Crazy, crazy times. We want to welcome you all to the panel. We're going to keep talking about the upcoming official disclosure moment. And I've got to get you started on how it connects to the Kennedy assassination.
One of the strange things about the UFO phenomenon in the United States, which really kicked off in 1947, everybody's heard of the Roswell crash, but it actually began a couple of weeks earlier when a pilot by the name of Kenneth Arnold, who was a businessman but also a private pilot, spotted what craft that later, when he described them and drew his memory of what they looked like flying wings. But when he described them as moving like saucers that were skipping across the water, the media picked up on that, and that's where the term flying saucer came from. It turned out that around the same time, there was a sighting in Washington near Maury Island. And one of the fellows involved in that sighting, named Fred Krisman, turns up as a witness subpoenaed by District Attorney Jim Garrison in New Orleans as a witness in his investigation into the conspiracy behind the John F. Kennedy assassination.
Most of us have seen the movie JFK, and that trial features heavily in that movie.
Exactly. And that was Krisman was part of that. Now, there are some who believe that Krisman was one of the tramps who was spotted in the train yard in Dallas near Dealey Plaza on that day in 1963. There's no evidence to that, to prove that, but Krisman does show up connected to another bizarre conspiracy that actually cost the life of an investigative journalist named Danny Casolaro, a conspiracy that he termed the Octopus, which involved the Iran-Contra scandal, the BCCI scandal, the savings and loan collapse of the 1980s, weapons production on the Cabazon Indian Reservation in California.
Which gets into Promise Software.
Well, exactly, and that's the link right there, the Promise software theft. Promise, P-R-O-M-I-S, was case management software developed by a company called Inslaw in the 1980s. And it was claimed by the owners of Inslaw that the U.S. government, under Attorney General Ed Meese, who was Ronald Reagan's Attorney General, basically stole the software, modified it to install backdoors into the software so then it could be sold to other national governments and give the NSA a backdoor into these governments. And this software...
And into banks.
And into banks, security systems. This is incredibly powerful network architecture software. It was used for air traffic control at major airports. And there's some connection to the Promise software and the airport's air traffic control system on 9/11. Anyway, the modification was allegedly made by a man named Michael Riconosciuto. Michael's father, Marshall Riconosciuto, ran an advertising agency in Portland, Oregon, at which Fred Krisman worked. So Krisman, through Riconosciuto, connected to all kinds of stuff. Michael Riconosciuto was essentially silenced by the government. He was thrown into prison in the 1980s on drug charges, and as we're recording this, he has just been released within the last 90 days. He's at a halfway house now in Washington State. So he spent a lot of time in jail rather than him testifying to some other again, it's very long and convoluted, but it's bizarre. Beyond Krisman, another fellow who was sending reports from the Butte, Montana FBI field office to J. Edgar Hoover directly was another fellow who shows up in the JFK assassination, and this is a guy named Guy Bannister.
I was about to ask you about Bannister.
Guy Bannister was the special agent in charge of the Butte, Montana office, and he was sending reports on these early accounts from the late 1940s of UFO sightings over the Pacific Northwest, because the Maury Island sighting and Kenneth Arnold sighting were not the only ones. There were a number of them over the Pacific Northwest, over California, and Bannister was sending these reports back marked essentially with an X in the title of the file names, essentially the origin of the X-Files.
Exactly.
Right. Bannister went on to be the special agent in charge of the Chicago field office, eventually retired, opened a private investigators agency in New Orleans. He was the character played by Ed Asner in JFK the movie. So again, you've got this weird collection of people who were very early in the UFO phenomenon in the United States, showing up connected in odd ways to the JFK assassination. You've also got a guy named Andrea Puharich, who was an intelligence asset investigating supernatural phenomena, who got connected with some very wealthy people, including members of the Astor family, the DuPont family, the founder of Bell Helicopter, in seances where they were channeling something that called itself the Nine.
As in the Aeneid? As in
the Aeneid, the Egyptian pantheon, the 9 principal gods of the Egyptian pantheon. As it turned out, a couple of the folks connected with his round table that were channeling the Nine took in a young couple who had recently re-emigrated from Russia to the United States, Lee and Marina Oswald. Right, so there's this another odd connection to the Kennedy assassination through this group investigating the UFO phenomenon and contact with extraterrestrials. We go into it in much more detail than we can go into here in this program, but it's bizarre that, again, from the late 40s and early 50s, you've got a group of people who are, in the case of Puharich and his work, it was their group was described by researcher Peter Levenda as the Fellowship of the Ring with federal government funding and a security clearance, and top-level security clearance. They were essentially trying to figure out what these aliens wanted, and then later, of course, it was revealed to them that they were gods, and then having this like 2 degrees of separation from Lee Harvey Oswald and the Kennedy assassination. This roundtable group continued until the 1970s, and at one point included Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek.
And didn't he actually try to produce a show called The Nine?
Called The Nine. He wrote a treatment for a film called The Nine, and of course, one of the spin-offs of the original series was Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
So it's mind-boggling, and if you don't believe in the existence of the supernatural, you'd say, wow, what a coincidence. But as Josh and I like to say, we are not coincidence theorists.
That's right.
Well, I'm glad you said wow, because I want to talk to you about the wow signal here in a second. But before we get to that, the channelers and the various seances that are speaking to these aliens, what are they talking to?
Usually the mainstream, answer is it's demons, And I do believe there's a demonic element to that. They're certainly not anything good, because they proclaim things that are anti-Christian, against Jesus, against all this stuff. But there's a variety of spiritual entities that could fall in that category. But basically, it's nothing really good. But what's most alarming...
Because they're trying to lie to us.
Yeah, and what's most alarming about it is these channelers will just take what these entities are saying with no evidence. I mean, there is zero evidence. And they've actually been shown to lie, time and time again. I mean, decades ago, the channelers were saying that these beings were from Mars or Venus or Mercury even, or the moon. And now that we have relatively explored those places, especially Venus, like nothing is going to be living on Venus. after that, all of a sudden, channelers, abductees, which are, obviously two different things, but talking to the same types of entities. Now these entities are saying, well, we're actually from Arcturus or Zeta Reticuli and all that. Well, now we can detect exoplanets, and which is something else that goes into a whole other area that we talk about in the book. Well, now it's ETIs, it's contiguous universes, it's parallel dimensions. Now these people like Terry Mansfield, who are channeling and talking to these beings, are saying, no, we got it all wrong. It's the Celestials are the ones that are from other planets. They're disobedient to God. And she just uses that term God. She's a Catholic, so that's her understanding of it. So was Edgar Mitchell, John Podesta, all the people in the WikiLeaks emails. But so now it's not another planet; it's even further out.
We come from a place where you cannot possibly check our story.
There's no way to verify it, and they offer no proof. Yet people will just kind of go for it. It's kind of like the ancient aliens thing. There's a lot of twisting of evidence, but there are really good debunkings of really all of it, like Ancient Aliens debunked by Chris White,
which featured Mike Heiser.
You were a big part of that. That stuff has been debunked, but people still want to believe it. There's still a craving.
That's the bottom line. They want to believe it.
They want to, and so they will, and they'll make reality conform to their beliefs instead of the other way around. We take the opposite approach. We are Christian, of course, so we filter everything through that. But at the same time, there are things that you just can't be super dogmatic about. Like, again, who are they talking to? Easy answer, demons, but it goes a lot deeper than that. There's a lot more layers. It's a lot more complex that we lay out all throughout the book.
A second ago, I mentioned the well signal. Can you explain, for those who have never heard what that is, can you tell us what that is? Yeah,
so I have my notes here, so I'm going to be looking at this, but basically, it's used in some areas of ufology to say that this is the evidence. Where's the smoking gun? This is it. So on August 15th, 1977, there was a narrowband radio signal that was received by Ohio State University, their Big Ear radio telescope. And the signal itself, it appeared to come from the Sagittarius constellation somewhere. Now, astronomer Jerry R. Amon, I hope I'm saying that right, he discovered the signal a few days later, after it happened. He realized that this thing actually went on for 72 seconds, which that's an interesting number. Interesting number.
Clearly artificial.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, and so that was like the big question. Is this something that's artificial, or is it a natural thing? And that's most people that look into it say it's something artificial, but we don't know what. We don't know if it's something from Earth, because there have been signals later that have been detected and then found out later it was like a Russian satellite, or it was some. So that seems unlikely to most people, because there's what's called a protected spectrum, which means that radio signals from Earth, from normal people, are not supposed to broadcast on that. So this signal was a 1420 megahertz signal, which is within what's called the protected spectrum. So most people believe that kind of rules out the idea that it could be something from Earth. It still could be. I mean,
has it
it's
been
not
debunked since then, the well signal?
No, not to everybody's satisfaction. Like, it hasn't. There have been other signals. Like there was one that was detected and people thought it might be aliens, and then it was debunked later that it was actually a Russian satellite, or it was something that was sent out from Russia and bounced off something and came back. It still could be something like that.
There was another. It turned out that it was the microwave oven in the staff lounge.
Right.
Seriously, I do remember that one.
And I know we got to go to break, but when we come back from break, I want to talk about what happened after that on the anniversary.
Okay. Well, we will be right back. Don't go away.
3 very mysterious shiny lights have police and residents puzzled.
This pilot who flew Barack Obama says UFOs are real, and he's seen one firsthand.
The triangular-shaped flashing object appears to be floating above the capital city.
So this large disc, massive, it was following you.
It was pacing us. Here's this giant red ball just above the clouds.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it was.
4 different species, at least, had been visiting this planet for thousands of years.
For the first time in history, the disturbing truth behind the push for official disclosure of extraterrestrial intelligence and UFOs has been uncovered. For years, religious and secular researchers have tried to determine how the world would react to a genuine extraterrestrial reality. But what if their conclusions are wrong? Humankind has defined them as devilish creatures. Yet something even more diabolical is occurring. What if there's a difference between ancient demonic phenomena and the question of extraterrestrial life? It was hinted at in the WikiLeaks.
People really want to know what the government knows.
I have said I want to open the files as much as we can.
A reality that lurks in the shadows that will soon come to light. A truth so shocking, it threatens the destiny of every soul on planet Earth. You must ask yourself, why now suddenly is seeking to answer the question of UFOs life-threatening?
This is another investigator who is getting very close to information on official disclosure that's now been found dead.
I've talked to a lot of pilots here, and they've all admitted that they've seen UFOs, but they kind of keep quiet about it.
The government discounts every single report that ever seems to come out, every UFO report.
I'm about the only person willing to get in front of a camera and talk about the UFOs that were flying overhead.
Promises of earth-shattering news are being quietly whispered by scientists and government insiders. Is something about to happen that was prophesied in the Holy Bible? This November, internationally acclaimed best-selling authors Josh Peck and Derek P. Gilbert peel back the lid on an astonishing cover-up and expose on a most insidious deception. In The Day the Earth Stands Still, unmasking the old gods behind ETs, UFOs, and the official disclosure movement. Coming November 2017.
The holidays are rapidly approaching, and now's your chance to save big on the largest Skywatch TV giveaway of the year. We're proud to announce the Day the Earth Stands Still Ultimate Collection. When you purchase the Day the Earth Stands Still from Skywatch TV, you'll also receive Josh Peck's most significant work in the new compilation book, Unraveling the Multiverse. Also back in print through Defender Publishing for the first time ever, Dr. Michael Heiser's breakthrough books, The Facade and The Portent. But we're just getting started. You'll also receive the brand new, top secret 5-volume DVD collection, Project Stargate. This unprecedented series of never-before-released confidential interviews features 12 of the world's leading authorities on UFOs, so-called aliens, gods, and the coming day of contact. You'll be amazed as we go behind the scenes to ask experts what they really believe is coming. Watch as men with security clearances like Dr. Chuck Missler share for the first time what they know. Then take notes as Dr. Michael Heiser, the late Chris Putnam, Russ Dizdar, Joe Jordan, L.A. Marzulli, Daryl Sims, Gary Stearman, and others weigh in on what will soon cause the world to stand still in awe. And yet, we're still not finished. You'll also receive Dr. Thomas Horn's presentation, The Secret Vatican and Alien Antichrist Connection on DVD, the digitally re-released legendary 20-hour audio series, Official Disclosure, the DVD presentation, Quantum Physics in Prophecy, and 2 free brand new gift books to add to your library or to give away as gifts this holiday season. Sold separately, this colossal special offer holds a retail value of over $300, but it's yours now for a very limited time at only $39.99 plus shipping and handling. So don't delay. This avalanche of holiday gifts is perfect for the serious researcher in your life, but is only available while supplies last. So take advantage of this, the largest Skywatch TV giveaway of 2017, while you can when you purchase the Day the Earth Stands Still Ultimate Collection, now at the Skywatch TV store. Order online or call 1-844-750-4985.
We, here at Skywatch TV, honestly, we have so many things that we're trying to get involved in, and one of those is Whispering Ponies Ranch, and we hope that you will not only sponsor a pony if you have the wherewithal to do it, but that you will buy the packages that our warehouse and Skywatch TV sell, because all the profits, anything that we can possibly funnel toward that to help children at risk at Whispering Ponies Ranch. That is our heart and soul, and Tom Horn and Nita Horn, that's their dream. So that's why we work so hard here to produce content for you and to write books and produce all sorts of DVDs. That's why, because we care about kids, and Tom Horn and Nita Horn are right there doing it. We've got a package for you: The Facade, The Portent, The Day the Earth Stands Still, Unraveling the Multiverse is in there also. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
You've unraveled it?
It's unraveled. Next month to put it back together.
Explains so much.
Kitten with string.
Yeah.
Well, you were telling us about the wow signal and some of the other aspects of that before we went to break. I want you to just take up where you left off.
So this was what was really interesting. Like most people who study UFOs, they know the wow signal. It's been, it's been researched to death, and nobody has like a really satisfying answer on what it could be, whether on the alien side or whether on the human side. It just kind of depends what you think. Now, what's interesting, though, is there's no direct evidence that it was aliens. Some would say there's no direct evidence that it wasn't either, that it was humans. Okay, so it's out there. It's weird. They've never been able to detect it again, even though they've been looking. But what's interesting is even through that lack of evidence saying that it must be aliens, on the 35th anniversary. So in 2012, Arecibo Observatory actually beamed an attempted response to this signal. And it contained, this is actually kind of funny, it contained 10,000 Twitter messages that was collected by National Geographic bearing the hashtag chasing UFOs. It was a show that was running on there at the time. And it was really a promotion for the television series. But okay, like if they thought that this was aliens and they want to talk back to aliens, like, yeah, let's promote a show. Let's do it to promote a show. It's weird. Like, let's tweet the aliens. It's just a weird thing. So it kind of shows the state of our culture. How we interpret these things. Yeah, maybe there's aliens. Let's tweet them.
And Klaatu is one of their followers
let's
now,
get them on Facebook. Like it just kind of shows how easy it is for a culture to accept this stuff if it's put in that kind of mental arena of social media or whatever. But also, again, there was really no evidence saying that it had to be. It's just a weird signal. Now it could be something otherworldly. There could be something like that to it, but there's really no strong evidence saying one way or another. It's just a weird thing. Yet it's so easily embraced as this is our smoking gun of UFOs, the existence of aliens. This is our smoking gun. And it's so easily embraced that they would actually be willing to spend all this money, do this thing, promote a TV show.
And that's the thing, it's a lot of money spent.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Well, to promulgate this thing.
Mike, a few minutes ago, Derek was talking about the 9, and we mentioned the Aeneid and whether or not that's actually what the 9 means. You've written about the Apkallu. Aren't there just 7 of those?
It depends what text you're in. Yeah, I mean,
Do you think there's a correlation between those at all?
The 9 would be higher rank than the Apkallu, so there's really not a one-to-one correspondence there. So I wouldn't worry too much about the numbering.
Are the Apkallu related to the Watchers at all? Because I know that's a term most of our viewers are familiar with.
And when you were talking about, you've said it a couple times. Again, for most Christians, the answer is, oh, they're demons. I tend to think that the reason why Christians gravitate toward that is, there's really, I think, 2. One, it's easy. Okay, I put that in a box. Now I can sit on the lid. I don't need to really think about this anymore.
Yeah.
But the other is because they really don't understand that demons are pretty low on the pecking order. If you actually get into, again, the primary text, which is what I focus on in nonfiction, and believe it or not, fiction. Okay, we're still using primary sources there. It helps a little bit to sort that out, not necessarily what the hierarchy is, but to sort of put them in their place. Demons are, by all accounts, in Second Temple literature and in other literature. You get glimpses of this in the Old Testament. You're going to get it in some other external material as well. Demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. Now they are called Watcher spirits because that is their point of origin. But they are, by definition, second generation or derivative. They are not their fathers.
Nephilim are the children of the Watchers and human women.
And all Second Temple Jewish texts, this is Second Temple Jewish demonology. Okay, that this is where demons come from. What's encountered in the Gospels are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. Well, the Watchers And you have other terms like celestial ones or archangels. I mean, there's a variety of terms that go into this, are by definition superior. In the portent, again, without giving too much away, there's a scene where the villain is referred to as a demon, and he looks at the person that's about to experience difficulties and says, demons are like puppies. They come when they're called, but I do whatever I want. In other words, I don't have a master. What we think of as the bad guy is they're more like flunkies, okay, just like henchmen, you know, the dumb henchmen that are expendable in the movies, okay. That would be a Second Temple conception of a demon as opposed to something else. And the 9 would be a very high-ranking group, you know, in Egyptian religion. So in that respect, they correspond hierarchically to concepts like the Watchers. But in terms of the text references, the numbers and all that, it's a different thing.
So within the unseen realm, there are a lot of levels of authority, both fallen and unfallen?
What you essentially have is you have, I like to talk about divine rebellions. We have a rebellion in Genesis 3, we have a rebellion in Genesis 6. The bad guys of Genesis 6, the Watchers, are consigned to the abyss, you know, until the end of days or the day of the Lord. So they're not the ones running around doing anything. Their offspring, the Nephilim, are de facto producing what we think of as demons. But then you get a third rebellion at Babel. Okay, and now you've got the gods put over the nations. And this, again, religiously, conceptually, ties in, believe it or not, with some of the things that you guys have been talking about. Because there's a very simple set of ideas here. If we look at the gods of the nations, again, the Deuteronomy 32 worldview that I've talked about, you've talked about, they are entities that have influence over geopolitics. That's the way they're cast in the book of Daniel, Prince of Persia, Prince of Greece, all this sort of stuff. So that means that they have influence over the people who actually create empire, Nebuchadnezzar, okay, somebody, you know, Darius, whoever it is. So these are very simple ideas that behind what we see in geopolitics in our terrestrial realm, in our experience, is a greater intelligence. That's it. I mean, that is biblical theology. What happens is we disconnect that theology that's very clearly biblical. We disconnect it from our own day and age. Oh, well, that couldn't have been happening in the 20th century with geopolitical events. That couldn't be happening. Again, it's this selective supernaturalism that I talk about a lot. It's this, well, I'm a professional Christian skeptic, you know, kind of approach, you know, sort of thing. But it's very simple, you know, biblical theology. Now, I don't do a lot with conspiracy theory in terms of big C, but, you know, when it comes to things like the UFO problem, okay, the UFO issue, it's very clear that you can find genuine, not leaked, but genuine documentation that we're going to use this, you know, some internal CIA memo. We're going to use this for disinformation. We're going to use it as a psyop. We're going to use this idea, again, to move herds. Again, it's a simple idea. You know, the whole Kennedy thing, I'm not a big Kennedy, you know, conspiracy theorist, but I actually just read The Devil's Chessboard, which if you haven't read, you should. It's a very serious book. It's about the history of the Dulles administration.
We're going to have to talk about that in the next installment of this series of interviews. We are so grateful that you've been here, and don't miss next time because we're going to keep the conversation going. For Skywatch TV, I'm Sharon Gilbert. Bye-bye.